because you don't want to miss a thing. Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
Welcome back. So what happened in real estate, both residential and commercial this year? Always happy to check in with Luciano Diorio, certified residential and commercial real estate broker. Luciano, hope you're having great holidays.
I am. Thank you, David. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. So tell me what stuck out for you in 2023. What are the biggest or the biggest stories of the year 2023 in terms of real estate?
I would say still today it would be housing. Housing has been a big story, has been the big story of the year. Housing, affordable housing, just housing in general, housing the unhoused. I think those are kind of the three topics within the housing topic that's been in the headlines for 2023 on that front. And on the commercial front, the delays and the costs of construction and the delays and interest rates and everything that has to do with increasing costs in terms of commercial construction and corporate construction. So,
in terms of the housing crisis, because you have a different vantage point than, say, politicians or social groups. I mean, you see it from a more business angle. Is there anything in what the governments have announced? Because it seems that every time you talk to the mayor or you talk to the premier or you talk to the prime minister, there are programs, there's money, there's help's on the way. And yet there's still no housing being built. It is still a crisis, as you rightly pointed out. So what is, from a commercial perspective, from a promoter perspective, from a builder perspective, the problem in getting housing off the ground?
Well, I think it's site acquisition. So acquiring a site that's zoned for housing. It's interesting because I always hear, especially during the holidays, you're meeting with family and everything. Oh, what about that building? Why don't they convert that building? Or that building's been abandoned for years, and why don't they do something like build houses on it? And of course, you have to look and say, well, hold on a minute. The zoning doesn't allow for it. The city doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure in that neighborhood, even if we did want to do housing. And thirdly is the cost of putting up something. So firstly, you have to, let's take this story in terms of this building that needs to be demolished. So you need to demolish the building. There's a cost to that. You then need to maybe remediate the site and remediate the land, get it ready. And then you've got to get your zoning and your permits, and all of that process has to go through. And that can take months and months and months.
The red tape. But I've been reading a lot about this. There are a lot of issues. You talked about construction costs, but the permitting process, and you're even seeing the politician, Pierre Poilievre is trying to make hay out of this, when he talks about the municipal gatekeepers. And I don't want to get into politics, but it seems, and there have been a lot of articles on this being written by serious people that say that in Montreal, the biggest issue in getting housing starts off the ground is the municipal regulations and the red tape that slow everything down to a halt.
Well, and the developers before, when land was cheaper and money was cheap, that was okay. You could be patient. But right now, money is not patient, and people are not patient. and so when you're paying high interest rates, all of a sudden the carrying cost of the land becomes an important factor. And so this is certainly something to look at in 2024 as we end 2023. In 2024, what are we going to do, and how are we going to allow for maybe faster access? Now, of course, you can't open the floodgates and have anybody build whatever they want wherever they want. But at the same time, the process needs to be streamlined. So I think that there's a discussion to be had amongst developers and cities alike. By the way, I don't think this is just a Montreal thing. I think that there's certainly something to be said there. And if economists are correct that interest rates are going to go down, then we might get some reprieve, and we may start seeing some building again.
I concede that it's not a problem that is unique to Montreal, but we look at the stats when you compare to Toronto and Vancouver, and they have inflation, they have high construction costs, and yet their housing starts numbers are far higher than Montreal. So there might be something there as well. I do want to ask you about the office vacancy situation. I mean, the pandemic has transformed that sector of real estate, hasn't it?
It has, and we thought it was going to be a temporary thing, and we thought that with some magic wand, people were going to be back. But I think people, employers and employees, basically employees giving pressure to their employers to say, I'm not sure if I want to be back in a place called the office 5 days a week, and I may want to be in, 2 or 3 days a week, but not 5 days a week. And so some of this we saw before the pandemic, of course, because we did see some larger employers basically giving hoteling spots to their employees, where they were saying, you don't have to be in the office 5 days a week, so we're not going to assign you an office. And when you come in, you basically just sign in for your office. So this was happening even before the pandemic, but the pandemic, of course, accelerated this. And now what we're seeing is that these larger corporations that have, basically like, let's call it like a call center for some of this work is being done from home and not being done in a place called the office. What we are seeing, though, the silver lining is that there is a flight to quality, and employers that want to provide a quality office space to their employees, they're doing that. So they're basically getting them better space, smaller space, but better space.
Are you seeing because at one point we were talking a lot about converting office space into residential. Are you seeing any big projects being developed here in Montreal, especially downtown? Are you seeing like what was office space but now might be converted into residential?
We're not seeing as many as people would think. However, there is a project that was announced this year in 2023, sometime in the summer, where the old Standard Life building, or now Manulife, on Sherbrooke and de la Montagne, 1245 Sherbrooke, that was purchased by a group that wants to convert that office building into residential. And so they're looking at building about 200 to 250 units there. So that's a positive sign. But are we going to see that for many high-rise office buildings in Montreal? I don't think so. Just given the size of the floor plates, you need natural light. You need, again, infrastructure, and you need proper zoning. So it's not easy to convert a Place Marie, nor should we be converting a Place Marie to residential.
All right, that's all the time I have. Luciano, you'll be back with us next week to talk to us about what you see as trends in real estate for 2024. I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts on that. Want to thank you for today, and have a happy New Year.
Looking forward to it, David. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Luciano Diorio, certified residential and commercial real estate broker.